Right. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you tonight. I'm a big believer of start and end on time. So what I'd love to do is I'd love to kick it off. If you could do me a favor and hop on your video if you're able to for just a second, I'd love to grab a screen grab of us and use it for social media and posting in a little bit to kind of celebrate all of you and tag that. So if you want to come on screen, you don't need to do it the entire time. I'd love if you could, but I understand if you can't. I'd love to grab a screen grab of that and post that. So move that over here. Got people joining. All right, I'm going to grab a grab of this. All right, give a thumbs up or a hi or a wave. We're going into Ignite. Perfect. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate you. I'll do it again later in the session when we go into the second Ignite class for those that hop off or on. My name is John Reich. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me crystal clear in the chat. I know sometimes when we do music, it's not as clear. I just want to make sure no one's having any tech issues as I'm letting people in. I am an operating principal with two market centers. I have the pleasure of leading two market centers of over 500 agents across two of the largest counties in Michigan. I've been with Keller Williams 10 years. My story and journey started pretty uniquely. I got my master's degree in educational leadership. I had a minor in business, and I am academically published. And so I'm 25 years old. I first person in my family to go away and get an advanced degree, and I was making 40 grand a year.
Wow.
And my rental experience when I was buying my first rental property was with a non KW agent, and it was not the greatest experience. And so I started looking into getting my real estate license, and I started thinking about making additional income outside of my salary. And I fell in love with the Keller Williams opportunity. I fell in love with God Family Business. I fell in love with the belief system. I fell in love with the idea of running a business and following a business plan. Um, 10 years later, that was in 2016. In 2026, I have been a MAPS coach, which stands for Mega Agent Productivity Systems. I ended up launching my own coaching company, and I have a team of coaches I lead. I was a team leader of my market center from 2017 until almost 2020. I was a black belt team leader, which meant I was top quartile in profit, top in recruiting, and in net growth. I took my original market center with a great team, of course. It wasn't just me, from 240 agents to 400 in about 3 years. And we grew from 200,000 in profit share to over 600,000. Um, we were like top 10 and a lot of cool celebrations. And I got to meet Gary Keller and went on this whole journey of building a really powerful business. To this day, some great mentors of mine within the Keller Williams ecosystem have been Gary Keller, Jason Abrams, Cody Gibson, Mark King. I've been blessed with amazing mentors. And so part of my passion and why I'm here tonight is twofold. Why am I in hour 11 of my day? Well, it's twofold. Number one, I care about the next generation of realtors, whether you're retooling and it's a second career, or you are thinking about growing your opportunity within Keller Williams and you've been with us 1 year, 10 years, somewhere in between. I want to help people grow their business. Sorry, people are coming into the room here and I want to make sure I'm getting them in. But the second reason is I am 34 evaluations away from being certified as a Keller Williams approved trainer. So my one ask is if I add value to you, whether it's tremendous value and it helps you with your business and your life and you feel motivated and inspired at the end of this 2 hours, or if I can improve, if I'm not what you were expecting, if I need to improve, I would so cherish a review from you. And so I'll be giving you in a moment here, I'll screen share and I'll be giving you the reviews, but that's sort of the why I'm doing this. There's a bunch of qualifications, and one of them is teaching beyond your region and teaching Ignite. And so I'm checking two birds with one stone on that. So that's the why here. But my goal is to provide value and get into the content for you as we speak. Sound good? Hey, look at that, fireworks. All right, I'm going to go ahead and screen share. One moment. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Very good. Okay, so I've got the chat pulled up. I've got the waiting room pulled up, and then I've got this nice little gallery of people on the side. So here's how tonight's going to roll. We're going to get to the close, and we're going to start moving through the content. If you would like to speak, if you have a question, the best two ways to do that is one, raise your hand. I can see that pop up in the notifications in the gallery. Or two, you can go ahead and just unmute when I ask, is there any questions? Does anyone have a comment? And you can go ahead and just speak at that time. So raising the hand if it's in the middle of me saying something or you want to clarify a point. And then number two, just going ahead and speaking if there's a pause or I'm asking for that. That's totally acceptable. Let's go ahead and test that now. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, man, we got a few people. Ed, you are going to absolutely crush it. And so are you, Derek. Both of you followed directions beautifully. So I appreciate that completely. Let's go ahead and get into it. As a reminder, we have telemarketing reminders for our agents that we're following TCPA compliance, that we are following the Telephone Act, and we're talking to consumers who have not filed to be on the do not contact list. We want to make sure that we're always disclosing that we are using these materials tonight. And when we get into some prospecting, there's a little challenge we're going to do tonight via text that I'll give you. That we're doing it with people that have given you permission to reach out, and that if anyone ever asks you to not, that you please don't, right? That you please remove them from correspondence. We also operate as a company who participates in fair housing. We do not discriminate around any of the protected classes. We believe in equal opportunity for all in terms of being qualified to purchase real estate in the United States. And of course, the materials here are copyrighted under Keller Inc. and the Tim McGraw-Hill companies. So as a reminder, if you have signed up for tonight's session to have a conversation around getting to the close and planning your future, you are in the right spot. So great job. What we're going to do is from now until about 7 o'clock, I'm going to take us through get to the close. We're going to be going through a conversation around what we can be doing to bulletproof some of the things that buyers and or sellers and investors may face to you. If you've been in the business 1 year or 10, you'll know that things happen in deals. Buyers and sellers, anyone ever hear the phrase buyers are liars or sellers are yellers? Well, here's my thought on that. I think buyers only become liars when we don't ask the right questions to get to their specific reasons of why they're buying, what they're actually doing, what their needs versus wants really are, how we win with them. So because we don't, as professionals in the industry, doing this for the 10th, the 50th, or 100th time, because we're not necessarily narrowing down needs versus wants and truly digging deep into the why. I have a story I'll tell you later that relates to that. Things pop up later after we've shown someone 10 homes or after we're getting to the closing and we're like, well, wait a minute, the buyer never said that. Buyers are liars. Well, if we would have asked better questions, maybe not. Sellers are yellers. Well, they only get angry and only start to yell if they feel like we're not marketing, pricing properly, and effectively, proactively communicating what we need to do to list and sell the property, right? And so we're going to talk through some strategies for you to insulate your relationship with sellers. So regardless of status of the home, whether it's active, pending, getting closed, clear to close, you're still communicating with your sellers on a regular basis. We have some strategies. Then we're going to get into plan your future. So planning your future is all around your mindset. It's actually my favorite class out of the Ignite series. So we're going to get into your mindset, your big why, your personal goals, and how you should think about your willpower, your reasoning for being in real estate. Over time, it may fade. How many of you, show of hands or throw in the chat, know a real estate agent and you picked their brain before getting into real estate? Throw in the chat with a thumbs up or a yes, or that's me. Okay, we have some yeses and hand raises coming in. Absolutely. When you talk to them, did anyone say to you, I'm getting tired of selling? Did anyone say I'm sort of exhausted and showing so many homes or opening so many doors? If you talk to a realtor who's been doing this long enough, that may be a part of it. That may be something that they experience. And here's my point with it. I'm going to be saying things that aren't necessarily in the material from time to time. My trigger word on it is going to be this is a golden nugget. That's your cue to write this down or jot it down because it's not going to be on the slide. It's not going to be in anything I put out. It's just something I'm saying. It's things I've learned. It's wisdom. The golden nugget on this is willpower is not on will call. Your willpower to stay in this business and to succeed over time is to have a connection to your big why of why you are doing this. If you're only doing it, in other words, to open doors or to help make commissions on buyers and sellers, you'll burn out. But if you have a big why or a purpose of, I got let go, I only have 3 months severance, I got to make an income, or I don't want my kids to take out student loans like I needed to, or I want to make sure that my kids are set up for the next wave, that the next generation is set up. I want them to do better than me. These are big whys that can motivate you every day to have the willpower to keep going. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and plan your future. Yes, I will be able to get you the copies of the slides at the end of today's session. So you got to hang out for a couple hours, but we will do that. What we're going to talk about today in this class is timelines within the transaction, both on the seller and buyer side, best practices that you can adopt or follow. And I'm going to give you some tidbits and best practices on that from experience. How to generate, collect referrals and reviews. We are in a referral and review business. You are not just in the real estate business. You're in the referral business and you happen to be in real estate. Best practices on what you should be doing post-closing, how you follow up without becoming too in their face or too what might be perceived as maybe pushy or salesy. How do you stay top of mind? How do you stay present with them? We'll talk about that. Then we'll do some recaps and we'll get into the daily success. Then we're going to move into a 5-minute exercise where you're going to text people for the lead gen session. We're going to bring that back with ahas, and then I'm going to have you rate me as the instructor. If you've come on in the last 10 minutes, you didn't hear me say this, so I'll repeat it one more time. I am 34 reviews away from becoming a Keller Williams University approved instructor. So it would be my honor and my privilege if you would give me a review, good or bad, because I'm 34 reviews away for going up for review to become approved. And I'm hoping to do that tonight. Who would like to read this quote up on your screen? Who would like to read it out loud? Unmute and go ahead and read it.
Real
Did you
estate
want?
transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. It's a strenuous and trying time that requires all the attention and effort you can command. Gary Keller, millionaire real estate agent.
Yeah. So what word? Thank you so much, Loretta. That was awesome. Loretta, real quick, what word when you read that stuck out to you?
That they're not trouble-free. It's strenuous and trying. More so, they're not trouble-free.
Strenuous, right? Absolutely. That's the
Yes.
word that sticks out to me. Do you have a guess, Loretta? One more question for you, not to put you on the spot, but you're doing so great. You're 2 for 2. So let's go 3 for 3. Do you have a guess on how many steps a realtor needs to take in an average real estate transaction with their client? If you just had a guess,
How many steps they have to take?
how many steps from the very first time you've engaged somebody as a lead to your handing keys at closing? Do you have an idea?
Oh, geez. Probably at least 8 steps. I mean, the contact, the setting up the appointment, meeting with them, doing the walkthrough. I'd say at least five steps.
5 steps. Anyone have a guess within the group chat
Oh,
to maybe help spread
22.
out?
Lord
We got
mercy.
22, we got 12. It's in the high two-digit 20, 2,000. Okay,
Oh,
25 plus 13. All right,
Well,
cool.
like I'm negotiating 20 feet.
Yep, yep. So here's from the MREA, and Loretta, keep this in the back of your mind. 192. There's 192 steps in a
Oh,
transaction from inception to keys handed over in a real estate. They're all different. Every level, every single transaction is different, but there's 192 rinse and repeat steps that in some way, some form can be boiled down. If you think
wow.
from walkthroughs to inspections to water bills, and then think about it, not the realtor isn't the only one that's involved in it. There's a lender, there's a home inspector, there's a title company, there's a broker. Like you start thinking there's the other side of the transaction. So one thing that I would encourage you to do and write this down, and I'll also throw this in the chat. Keller Inc. Keller Inc.com is a wonderful website with free resources such as the rookie real estate agent, the MREA, shift resources. But on that website, and I'll pull this up for you later on if you have trouble finding it yourself, but at the Keller Inc. website, there's a free resources tab. And underneath that tab are the 192 steps. They actually lay it out for you. And so there's only about 10 that the realtor personally has to do, like legally. So think about you can hire a transaction coordinator, you can hire a showing assistant, you can send a licensed inspector in some states, depending on broker policy, to the inspection. You don't have to be there. Now, there's best practices to be there, but this is where the whole idea of generating and building a team comes from, right? So there's 10 steps you must be. Yep, that's exactly right. There's roughly 10 steps you must do legally as a realtor, but there's actually 192 responsibilities or steps within a transaction. Pretty interesting. So I just wanted to mention that. So let's get into timelines. So as a real estate agent, it's important to keep track of the deadlines in the contract. So using the contract you have that you've been using in the previous Ignite classes you've done, there's a timeline in your participant guide, and you can use the contract to plot out under the tab. The 192 steps are on Keller Inc. If you go to the free resources tab, and then I believe it's under MREA, the MREA tab. I'll look at that a little bit later on a quick break. So if we think about, is there a contract that you've been y'all using in Ignite that you've been referring back to or looking at in a previous Ignite?
I don't think I've seen one.
You haven't
Yeah, I
seen
don't
one?
think I've seen that. We just talk about it, but not show one.
Okay, that's fine. I have slides prepared around. I didn't want to misspeak, so we're just going to use the example slide on my screen. Okay. Every time someone admits, I have to click off of the screen and then move back. Okay. So let's talk generally over the contract timeline. Okay. So you have the contract acceptance. So let's say that happens on September 2nd. And you have a closing date where the property closes on October 2nd. A lot of people would say, oh, well, you got 30 days in between and you have a due diligence period in there. But what happens every September in the start of the month?
Labor Day.
Yeah, Labor Day. That's right, Dennis. So does what happens if you have a contract where due diligence begins and you're trying to get an inspection and it's over? Maybe you've negotiated because you were on the buy side and you were trying to be aggressive. So instead of a typical 7 or 10-day due diligence, you say 5 because you're trying to like speed up the timeline and be more lucrative to the sellers. What happens if you didn't plan that ahead? You go under contract 9-2, and then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th is the holiday weekend. What did you just do to your buyer?
You cut them off.
Well, yeah. I mean, you just put your buyer in a pretty precarious situation. Now, at best, if the home inspection company coming off of a holiday weekend has availability on the 4th and your due diligence ends on the 5th, let's say they even do the inspection on the 4th. Now they have 24 hours to go over the inspection report with you.
Yeah,
So
it's not.
right. So these are the nuances to be thinking about when you're negotiating and you're thinking about what your contract timeline might look like around due diligence, around working with the lender, around working towards the clear to close that we're all hoping to get. Okay. So the golden nugget around contract timeline, I click back over here. The golden nugget around contract timeline, if you were to take 2 minutes, I want you to try and come up with at least two things in addition to holiday that may pop up between contract accepted and closing that we want to think about in terms of the timeline. Outside of a holiday, which it was an example with the inspection, what are two other things that might pop up that you want to be observing or considerate of when it comes to your contract timeline?
So for me, I often try to look for grant programs like down payment assistance that my buyers are qualifying for. And some of those programs take 42 to 45 days. And so I think on this timeline, it's 30 days. And so you have to be aware of what program your buyer is borrowing under in order to write in the correct date overall.
So what I'm hearing you say is funding source and certain grants and funding. I love that. In the chat, could taxes? Yeah, technically taxes could be a part of it. Are they behind on their taxes or are they caught up on the taxes? If there's a mortgage and that's been in escrow, most likely that's been the case. Like it's been caught up, but that's something to check in. Appraisal issues, yes, potentially. So if you went over asking, right, because you were bidding to get the property, your buyers just had to have that. Now you might run into, is it going to appraise or not? And then if you need to fight the appraisal. So if you're writing on the contract that to close on or before, you got to be thinking about that in terms of tightening that window, right? Someone else wrote in there first day of school, last day of school, that kind of things. Yes. Also, spring breaks, Christmas breaks. I know those are holidays, but there's also school breaks that extend that we want to be cognizant of. Probate issues. Yeah, absolutely. If something was in probate, or you're working through probate, if it's an estate, your power of attorney, the trust, all of these factors are something that you want to take into consideration, whether you're on the buy side or sell side, because it may expand the timeline. This is where picking up the phone and getting information from the other agent and being really communicative on what your buyer's needs or wants truly are. So let me give you a real story on this one that could impact timeline. Think about this. I had an agent at Keller Williams Lakeside who I was teaching a class called Buyers versus Wants, and he shared this story. He had a buyer that called him from his database, and he says, "Hey, man, doing well. Family's doing well. 3 kids are doing well. I am sick and tired of not being home in time for dinner. My commute's 40 minutes. It's killing me. I'd like to be closer. My goal, my need is I want to be home 3 days a week for dinner. So I would like a commute within 20 minutes of this address, yada, yada." So my realtor started shrinking down that focal point. And after about 20 showings over about a month period, and also trying to do a contingent listing, like I'm going to list this contingent. I'm finding something, right? I'm contingent. So there was other factors there in terms of like actually writing on the property. At the time, especially in the market we were in, people weren't as excited about contingent offers. My agent gets a call after like 20 showings a month later and says, "You know what? I'm throwing in the towel. Like we've done over 20 showings over the last 3 weeks. I've written on 5 properties, got outbidded on all of them. I'm going through a really stressful time at work. I'm having issues with one of my kids at his school. He's being bullied." So my realtor's listening. And what would you do in that case if you were the agent? Say again, please. So what he did, I'll just give it to you. He went back to his why. Remember when I told you willpower is not on will call? He went back to the guy's why and said, how does stopping your showings, how does stopping your showings help you get home for dinner 3 times a week, give you a 20-minute commute? How does stopping showings allow you to be the dad you want to be? So he stayed in the showing game. The very next weekend, got an accepted offer on a home 15 minutes away from his work. My point is our buyers and sellers' willpower is not always on will call. And we need to do an effective job of communicating timelines and priorities and the big reason why somebody's moving. If that agent hadn't done an effective job of getting to the why of why this guy was showing looking at properties, he would have thrown in the towel. And we're talking a 650 buy and a 450 list. Okay. So there's a million different things that can happen in the timeline. That's the thing that you want to think about. And this is what my agent did well, of why I showed you that story. What's the first thing my buyer needs? What do the buyers need to know and go do? Are they pre-approved? Is that freshened up? Is the family prepared to look at properties 3 days a week? How much lead time do they need to go look at those properties? What's their true radius? Do they really know what kind of property they want? I had one broker I was coaching. He showed 54 homes to a family over a year. They kept saying they want a split level or a ranch. And they said they didn't want to back up to woods or have a pool. They wanted to be more in like a cul-de-sac or a neighborhood. They didn't. Those were their three things. Do you know that he ended up adding on a colonial that was coming to market a year after showing properties? That was a colonial, not split level or ranch, backed up to woods with a pool, and they bought it. So sometimes sometimes their priorities change or shift. And we need to be organizing our communication and clarifying what do they really need to know or do? What are they actually focused on? And then what do I need to go do? Right? Do I understand that if I'm looking in one township versus the next, that there might be city certifications in the one, or certificates of occupancy in the other? Are they buying a rental or is it a primary? What is the millage rates that they might be expecting to pay? Don't you love when buyers send you a link and say, look at how low the taxes are? And you looked at the last time it was sold was 22 years ago? Are you having the conversations? Because that impacts timelines. That impacts contract timelines, right? So these are all the things to think about leading into the transaction. And then in the transaction, your relationship with the other agent, your relationship with the inspector and lender are the three most primary relationships to build on the buy side. Other agent, outside of your relationship with the buyer. Other agent, inspector, lender. I even have top buyer's agents that meet the appraiser there with their own comps and say, hey, I'm not here to tell you how to do your job. I respect you completely. I just wanted to give you some context on how I arrived at these numbers. These are different suggestions or strategies I'm giving you on how you can bulletproof the transaction and continue to respect the timeline within the deal. As that quote said from Loretta, the quote that Gary Keller said that Loretta read, a transaction is strenuous enough and enough can go wrong. So making sure that you have checklists and processes you're following, and these are all available on Keller Williams Connect and Command as well, by the way. You can just search best practices for buyer timeline, buyer checklists, inspection checklists. We have all that. It's all in Command for you. Okay. But these are ways that you can bulletproof a transaction. If we think about here are the big timelines on a buyer. I highly recommend you screenshot this slide. These are the biggies. Okay. There's a few additional things, but these are the biggies. So you get under contract, you have an inspector list, right? Of kind of what they want to look for at the inspection and what they're going to be considering. You need to collect the earnest money deposit. In Michigan, it's within 48 hours. You need to contact the listing agent then after you've scheduled the inspection of what the inspection schedule is going to be for part of your due diligence. You do the inspection, right? You actually do the inspection. And again, you got to bring your inspector onto your team. So you want the inspector to point out flaws within the property. of course. You want to know and represent your buyer. But I had one story. I had an inspection company that every issue was in bold red letters on the first page of the report. So I actually called the owner of that company and I encouraged them to think about softening and using a red, yellow, green light system and breaking it down by category. And then recommending if it's a do-it-yourself repair or professional contractor repair. Their business went up 25% because agents liked how they communicated to the buyer instead of just potentially doom and gloom. That's bedside manner, right? That's emotional intelligence instead of just sending off the report. So you have the inspection response, and then the appraisals due, right? Because we're trying to get this funded. And that's where final negotiations are happening around what's going to be paid for or not paid for, reduced, credited at closing. And then a final walkthrough, right? So from contract acceptance to closing, here's the big rocks of what you want to think about from your inspection. And do you see why your inspectors and lenders and the other listing agent are your three big friends? You can even talk with your title companies around doing pre-title too. So there's no surprises, no other things that pop up, no other issues that might happen, any cloudy titles or any types of issues with the deed. Here's another one I would screenshot if I were you. Being very clear on communication deadlines, communicating to all parties that as appropriate. Anytime you feel like you're not moving something forward, you need to widen your circle of communication. You need to widen your circle of communication. Get a trusted perspective, another resource, someone else that you feel can help drive the transaction forward. Communication between the lender and buyer. Making sure that you're leading that conversation, that you're being CC'd on correspondence, that you're an advocate for your buyer, and you're helping your lender get the documents needed. So many closings are delayed because the buyer doesn't get what's necessary to the lender. Recommended title companies, inspectors, and insurance agents. So with the common interaction points on the left side are questions to be asking yourself and within the transaction of what you should be asking. When am I reminding my buyers to not make big purchases? Like, do you have a system for that? When am I communicating? Because this would obviously impact funding, right? This would impact the mortgage, the debt to loan to debt ratio, loan to value ratio. When am I communicating when to set up utilities and how to do that? Am I communicating notice of any holidays that might delay or extend the process? How do I negotiate the inspection report and communicate? I just talked about the redlinings, right? Versus softening that. And when do I touch base with the lender, title company, and listing agent? These are questions on the right side you want to be asking yourself to help bulletproof the transaction. I'm going to hit next in 3, 2, 1. So some points to think about is whenever I pick up the phone or I have a conversation with somebody, I love to follow up with that person in text or email. So I might say, hey, Derek, it's John Rice with Keller Williams Lakeside. And we had the inspection scheduled for today at 3:00. I'm expecting to get the report later today. I'm going to be going it over with my buyers. And by end of day tomorrow or by noon the next day, you'll be hearing from me on appropriate next steps. As soon as I'm hanging up with that listing agent, I'm sending him a quick text saying, hey, thanks so much for talking through the timeline and when I'll get you an update on the inspection report. I'll let you know when I've communicated with my buyers. Same thing with my buyers. Hey, buyers, I'm about to hit send on an email to you that has the inspection report on it. I want you to take it and look it through the lens of what we already knew going into the buying process when you already were seeing it on Zillow or seeing it online, and then we went and toured it. And then I want you to have a second pile of what we didn't know before this report. Take your night to review it. I'm available tomorrow between 3 and 5 p.m. Let me know when you want, 20, 30 minutes to go over. I'm happy to do so. As soon as I send that over, I have a template in my email with the attached inspection report saying the same thing. Because the timeline of covering your butt and the timeline that's time-stamped in writing is what I want to be pushing out. The communication, the tonality, my eye contact, how I'm speaking to them, that builds a relationship and trust. So I want you to be thinking of it in two folds, the golden nugget. Personalizing it through communication, face-to-face or phone. Protecting yourself and your client through written correspondence and text and email. Any questions, thoughts, or ahas on that or on anything we've covered so far?
Yeah, John,
Yeah, Derek.
how often do you get your clients really nutted up about or concerned about the report, and how do you deal with their anxieties? What's your message for that?
The best way to deal with anybody's anxiety, and this isn't just for inspection reports, this is a golden nugget across anything in a transaction. The best way to handle their anxieties or concerns is before it even happens. So I love the script, or I love the dialogue of this. Hey, Derek, we're going to be getting an inspection report that's going to tell us two things: things we already knew, things we didn't know. I want you to look at this report through two lenses. One, confirmation what we already knew, and then a plan we've already kind of verbalized on, do we want to hire that out or fix it ourselves? Juice squeeze. And then anything that potentially pops up is a secondary pile that we need to handle at that time. And I want you to be able to count on me for two things. One, my trusted guidance on, could this be a deal breaker or not? Is this something we negotiate or not? To what level? And then number two, just know that my company and my vendor network of people that I would trust to work on my own home. And I can give you up to 3 people for each of those issues, whether it's the roof, the furnace, the HVAC, because I have built a vendor network that will take care of you like they take care of me. So I think we need to operate through what we already know and what we don't know, and then build a plan around that. Fair? That's how I would handle it. I would say it before the report, before the inspection. I'd be saying that as I get under buyer contract, and maybe after a day of rapport building and showing properties, I'd say that. Because then when I go to hit send on the report, I'll say, hey, remember when we were showing homes 2 weeks ago? We had seen about 5-6 homes at that point, and I told you that when we get to the point of an inspection, so like there's always a callback, and it's like, oh yeah, because what buyers and sellers want is, here's what's next. They're looking to us for leadership on here's what's next. 60% of buyers polled by NAR, this is a golden nugget, 60% of buyers polled by NAR think they should pay buyer agents less if they find the home online. The number two reason, over 40% of buyers are hiring you to look for guidance on what is a deal breaker or not in purchasing a home. Those are the 2 number 1 reasons buyers are using a buyer's agent. Find me the home, make sure I don't buy a lemon. Okay? Any other questions or thoughts? Cool. So on the seller timeline, it's similar. John says, what would be a deal breaker? Your inspector goes into the attic and there's black mold. It's going to cost $35,000 to remediate, delay closing 90 days. Seller didn't know about it. They're not willing to come down on price. Septic field is shot. It's going to cost $25,000 at a minimum. And that's before we start digging and if we find anything else out. So there's various things that may happen that could be a deal breaker. But there's some people that look at it like, listen, if I get a discount or the seller's willing to work with me, I'm still going to move forward, right? This comes down to the needs versus wants, what a deal breaker may be or not. Same thing with the sellers, guys. What's the first thing my seller needs to know? What do the sellers need to know and go do? What do I need to know and go do? What does my team need to do? So on the seller timeline, it's a very similar timeline. So up top here, you have the buyer, the timeline we had talked about. Down below at the very bottom, I want to point you out to the seller timeline. Okay. So you get the contract accepted, you're marking it pending, right? That's the first thing that needs to happen. Every MLS has a rule of how quickly it needs to be marked pending. You let your seller know as you work with the buyer's agent on what the inspection schedule is going to be. You send the inspection response to the sellers. So once the inspection happens and you've been talking with the buyer, but here's the thing. If your due diligence from 9/2, let's say that's to 9/12. You don't want to mark it pending on 9/2 and then just say, "Hey sellers, I'll let you know when I get the report." You're checking in. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the next thing that's going to happen now that we've marked this pending, we've started a 10-day clock. If you remember in the purchase agreement we received, there's a 10-day clock of due diligence, and part of that is an inspection. Do you remember that? Yes, I remember that. So here's what's next. I'm going to let you know, and I'm going to give them your schedule of when you're available to vacate the home, especially if they're still living there, right? To vacate the home so they can do their job to go inspect it. After that, typically there's a 24-hour window, give or take, until the inspection report comes in. What's going to happen is the buyer's agent is going to talk with the buyer, and then the next step is the buyer's agent is going to speak with me around anything that might have popped up that wasn't already apparent. They may have some questions on what was already apparent, but anything that maybe was a surprise. At that point, I'll let you know when we get the report back, and I'll let you know when I speak with the buyer's agent, and we'll schedule a conversation. Until then, sit tight, but that's what happens next. Do you see how that's an example of walking somebody through, not just to set it and forget it, but communicating what the process might look like? As the buyer agent's working on the inspection side, you're working on scheduling the appraisal. You want to make sure that this is going to appraise because you don't want to, I mean, yeah, you could take a $100,000 over asking offer, but what good is that for your seller if it's not going to appraise if the buyer needs a mortgage, right? Because remember, on that gap, it doesn't mean if it doesn't appraise, it doesn't mean it's a deal breaker. It's just how badly does the buyer want it? And is the buyer willing to bring additional funds to closing to make up that loan to value gap? If it's a low or even high, I think it should just say send the seller the appraisal response, right? Obviously, if it's a low appraisal versus a higher appraisal, there's two different paths you could take there. If it's a low appraisal, you could always get a secondary appraisal or ask for another appraisal, or you could fight the appraisal, but that could delay the process. If it's a high appraisal, that's fantastic. But remember, your seller may be looking at saying, well, wait a minute, it just appraised for 600. You had me take the deal for 575. I want that other $25,000. So this is where the art of pricing and talking with experienced agents within your brokerage, and this is the beauty of Keller Williams, the art of sharing and collaboration, the art of doing that so you're not way over or way under pricing and you're getting comps that are comparable to that. A strategy I like on that, just as a quick aside, if I feel like I'm having an issue with a seller before I even get to the appointment, I'll actually look for 5 properties that are similarly comped. And similarly comped meaning they have the same bedroom, same baths, same type of basement, rough square footage that's similar within the last 6 months. Sometimes 3 months, but 6 months I'll accept. And I'll find 25, depending on price point, but 10% above, 10% below what I think it could be listed for. Yeah, year built, absolutely. Absolutely year built. I try and get within 5 years of the same build. Not as much though, because sometimes you could have a beautifully updated property, right? But year built is a consideration, or year remodeled. And I've actually set it up where, let's say I have it listed at 350. I'm going to try and find 2 properties closer to 300, 325, 300, and then up to maybe 400. And hopefully I'm finding properties that The 400 has the quartz. It has the tones that are updated. It's not the grays from maybe 5 to 10 years ago, right? And then I got the 325s that is maybe Formica or vinyl flooring. And I'll say to them without the actual price, but I'll have details on it with upgrades or where do you think this house is? Is it the same, nicer, or not as nice as yours? And most of the time, sellers, if price isn't a factor, they'll be able to say, oh, that home's not as nice. That home is nicer. And then you reveal the pricing. And you say, my goal is to match based on these comps. You just said that your home is most like this one. You said these two were nicer and this one, these two were less or whatever. This is the range. I want to talk about $5,000 one way or the other with this. Now, you got to take into consideration the current market. You got to take into consideration, like I said, the upgrades. But that's another strategy to be able to, you're trying to narrow the scope of focus for the seller to think about what their home's actually worth. The common point you're getting here in these timelines is communication, communication, communication of deadlines, of contracts, of here's what's next. That's the number one thing I can give you around buyers and sellers communication. Here is what is next. So whether it's using that 192 tasks that an agent does, whether that's working through checklists that you can find in Command around buyer checklist, seller checklist, whether it's showing processes, open house checklists, post contract accepted checklists, inspection checklists. You should be golden nugget. You should be living your life off of checklists. They can be digital. They can be in Command or Google. They don't have to be printed out. But every file should have the address in a folder, whether it's in Google Drive or a physical folder with checklists. Checklists mean replication. They mean you never drop the here's what's next. It's your job to soften the checklist and not be a robot. But the checklist triggers you to remember, okay, here's what's next. Anybody ever go to the doctors? You go to the doctors, you check in, you sit in a lobby, then a nurse or an office professional brings you back. They take like maybe basic blood pressure, your weight. They ask you general questions. They're filling out a form. That's a checklist. Then you wait another 15 to 30 minutes. Then the doctor comes in because they reviewed your checklist. They reviewed your file. So the really good doctors are locked in with their eye contact. They're talking to you. They're answering your questions. They're taking the time because they've done the work on the front end of following a system, following a checklist. Opportunities are a built-in checklist. So if you have somebody's name, address, phone number, email, occupation, and you start putting information about their kids or where they work, right? That's a checklist. That's all it is. Your command checklist or opportunities, because then when you can tie the actual property to the opportunity, right? So John Reich, married to Haley Reich, with daughter Gemma Reich, with 2 dogs that works at Keller Williams. He's thinking of listing his 123 Easy Street home. That becomes an opportunity. The contact becomes an opportunity, right? You can manipulate the stages of that opportunity as much as you would like. So once you go under contract, if you want to say, we have a pizza party to celebrate going under contract, that could be a stage within your opportunity. That's how you could build your checklist. You can curate your command, your opportunity to be whatever you would like it to say. Every single one of you can curate your command. You all have market center tech trainers or MCAs in your offices that can help you with this. You should have either a productivity coach, an MCTT, or an MCA. Productivity coach is PC, market center tech trainer, MCTT, MCA, market center administrator. One of those 3 or all 3 are in your office, and they should be able to help you set up your command opportunities to the stages you want. That's a checklist. That's all it is. It's a checklist. I'm going to pause. That was the longest section for the class, that PowerPoint. What ahas? What takeaways? Can we get at least 3? Either dump them in the chat or come up off mute and share your aha, because aha stands for what?
Agents helping agents.
Great job. Agents helping agents. So when you share an aha, you help. We have 93 other people on this call. So before we go to the next slide, can I get 3 ahas, please? The first one I see here, the pregame chat about inspections and processes with lots of exclamation points. Love that, Derek. Good communication is what makes things work. If nothing's moving, widen your circle of communication. Absolutely. I used to be an academic advisor before getting into real estate. I worked at a university, and I can't tell you how many students in their defense, 18, 19, 20 years old, we're learning, right? We're all learning. We're all on the journey of life. But I worked with 18 and 19-year-olds at the time. I was like 26, 25, 26. And I would say, hey, did you reach out to your professor? And they go, well, yeah, I emailed him. Did you call him? Did you stop by his office hours? Did you send him another email? Did you leave him a voice message? Always widen your circle of communication. It moves things forward. Love that pre-inspection chat. Yeah, that's going to help on both sides, Christine. Comps, 2 up, 2 down. Where do you think your house fits? Using checklists to not miss what's next steps and make it a duplicatable system. Your business grows, it grows and falls to the strength of your systems. Your business grows and falls to the strengths of your systems. A checklist is one of those. Love the checklist, communicating what's next. Great, let's roll. Oh. For risk avoidance, there's just 3 things to remember. 3 things. Make this simple. Communicate clearly and often. What's next? Here's what's next. Set expectations up front and always be professional. On this slide, whether you want to jot this down or golden nugget to take your own note, I challenge you to respond, not react. Respond, not react. A reaction is emotionally charged. Responding is a response to a situation. The best example I can give around this is sleeping on it, waiting on sending the email, waiting on calling someone back. Okay? Respond, don't react. I can't stress that enough. When you're thinking about timelines and avoiding risks, where might the deal be at risk of falling apart, whether it's the buy side or sell side? True or false? A listing that's got an estate or might be going to probate or has a trust has more potential issues for the deal falling apart than one that doesn't. True, of course. There's just more that can go wrong. It's a more complicated deal. A buyer who is out of state and can only look at properties on Fridays and Saturdays when they're coming into town, more or less at risk of a deal falling apart or not following through? More, it's true. So communicating this ahead of time as you're doing the needs versus wants conversation with your buyer in that case around expectations. When you come into town, I want to make sure we see as many properties as possible. Are you against me sending you 3D walkthroughs or sending my showing assistant to do a virtual walkthrough on FaceTime Monday through Thursday? You want the yes or no right then, right? You want to see if you can expand the search timeline to help your buyers out in that example. So there's always, I want you to write this down too. When you're deal doctoring, golden nugget, selectively yes and strategically no. I want you to be selective in your yeses, and I want to be strategic in how you say no. Write that down, and you'll revisit this later in your career and go, wow, I didn't really understand what he meant then. Now I get it. Because as a newer agent, you're just trying to do any deals you can, right? You're trying to get up and running. You're trying to go. And I get that, and I respect the hustle. But the top agents I interview and coach, because I have several I coach one-on-one monthly, they're strategic in what they say no to and they're strategic in how they say no, and they're very selective in the yeses they say yes to in business. They know their niche. They know their avatar. They know what to to provide. That avoids risk. Always be a fiduciary, acting in your client's best interest. Always. Always do that. You'll never risk your career over one transaction. Never risk your reputation over one commission. Live the Y4C 2Ts, the belief system of KW. All right, let's talk about repeat and referral business, and then we'll do ahas again. The goal in your business is to have a world-class business so you can have rinse and repeat referrals coming across. When should you first ask for the referral? When do you think you should first ask for the referral?
After closing or after you finish the deal, you do
Okay.
a good job.
Or at the deal. Okay. After you close the deal, John says. After you go under contract, when they're the most satisfied. Okay. Let me push back and give you my perspective on this. It should be the first time you meet them, and this is how I do it. Hey, Jamin, it's John here. Thank you so much for meeting with me. We went over your pre-approval. We know exactly what you can afford to look at now, and we're going to start showings. I want to start by saying this. You know how Sally Sue referred you to me? Well, that happened through a referral. I pride my business on being such white glove, such high level, that if you should feel so inclined, I'd be honored if you would think of me if I do a good job. So I just want to let you know, from time to time, I'm going to ask, is there anyone else at work or church or on your softball league that might be talking about real estate that doesn't have a current agent that they're working with? I'd be honored for you to think of me. But in the meantime, you're my number one focus. And I just want you to know I'm going to do everything I can do for me to be your realtor for life. Sound good?
Yeah.
Again, earlier when we were talking about timelines, the best time to do it is before it's expected. They expect it at closing. They expect it when they're happy. And you should be doing it then too. But the best time to do it is at the front, plant that seed. Ask for referral at every conversation. And I would add to that through your action as well. Throughout the transaction with a buyer or seller and at the close. Those are non-negotiable. If you want to be in a business 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30, you need to be asking for the referrals consistently through the transaction, not just once. What ahas, I told you the next two sections were quick. What ahas do you have around asking for the reviews or referrals or building a business that is a fiduciary and professional responding versus reacting? What ahas do you have? When to ask for referrals, asking long before the contract, ask for the referral up front and then do it often, the way you ask for the referral at the start. Yeah, you're just setting the expectation, right? You're just setting the expectation.
Hello? Question.
Yes, Dennis.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry. No, it's just that, I mean, that's new to me. I mean, what you're saying, like to ask for the referral up front. I mean, I would think that, once once you get them to close and they get the house to ask. I mean, I just don't quite get it why to ask up front.
Dennis, were you on the call right at the beginning or did you come on a little?
No, I missed it. I'm sorry.
No. Listen, there's a reason I'm asking. So when I started this call, and I'm going to say this as a reminder for everybody, because some of you might have missed it. Please listen to this part. I started the first 5 minutes. I said, the reason I'm on this call is because Keller Williams has changed my life. And I am 34 reviews away. I have to teach Ignite, and I'm 34 reviews away to become Keller Williams approved. If you feel so inclined, I would be honored if you would give me a review from
right.
So did I not plant the seed and ask for the referral before I even got into content?
Yeah.
Same thing in this. So I'd say, hey, Dennis, I'm so thrilled to be working with you, truly. However you found me, whether it's through a referral or online, I'm so thrilled to be working with you. I just want you to know my number one goal is for you to feel that I took care of you, I negotiated on your behalf, I got you your dream home, or I sold your home, depending which side of the deal, and that you feel that I could become your realtor for life. And the one way that I pride my rating of that isn't in commissions, and it's not even an online post about how great of a real estate agent I am. It's in you giving me a referral. Fair?
Okay.
So I just would appreciate if you'd think about it. And from time to time through the transaction, should you hear somebody at church or at work or on your church on the softball league, if you hear somebody talking about real estate, I would be honored if you'd think of me. Fair? But in the meantime, I'm going to go to work for you, and right. So you're not like saying give me a name today. You're planting the
I
referral
see.
now, so they come to expect. It's not a surprise, or the first time they're hearing about it is at close. It's too late at that point.
Okay.
You need to do it then as well, but we should be doing it sooner. Any other
Okay.
ahas?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. All right. So after the closing, we're going to be taking a break in like 5 minutes.
Hi,
I'm going to put it.
John.
Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
Yes, so for me personally speaking, I'm a little bit shy to ask for a referral on the very first day I meet them, because the very first day I meet a client and they come to my office, we do what we call an intake session. So I get to know them very well. And then I let clients know upfront that um the reason for the intake is for us to get to know each other, like an hour. And then you can decide if you want to retain me as your realtor, and I can also make that
Oh, hey,
choice.
sorry, I had this on.
So they know that it's a choice on either side. And so that being said, I try to let them know we both have to trust each other. So if they like what I say and I'm reading their body chemistry, then I can go ahead and say, how do you feel like you've met me? We've gone over the exclusive buyers, or, if they are sellers, we've gone over the expectations. And so, since so and so referred you, are you comfortable now that you've met me in referring me to other people? 99% of the time, they will say absolutely. So, but if I see they are kind of not at that trust level yet, I wait till they're a little bit comfortable. Maybe after we've shown them, the first two showing appointments, then I will start asking for referral. Then, because by then they are used to me, they like me, hopefully, and then that's when I get a referral by reading the client's body language.
I loved what you said there, and I appreciate you sharing. And so here's what I'd say to that. You got to be first and foremost, always be real to you. Whatever feels most right to you is what's most authentic, but just be aware that what's most real or right to you may not always give you the best results. Okay? The second thing I would say is I'm not saying that you're going to look at them 2 minutes into the first time you're doing your intake. I love the intake. That's awesome. You're getting to know them. And one of your expectations is that you're going to be so world class, so professional, so top notch that you would be honored if they would think of you for a referral. You're setting an expectation. You're
Yes.
planting the seed right now. But what happens if 10 days in they become rude to you? They start disrespecting you. You may get out of alignment. And at that point,
Hmm.
you would stop looking for referrals, right? But I'm just saying that most agents wait too long to ask for the referral. And the best agents that I work with that run this as a business plant the seed sooner. That's all I was saying.
That's true. So what happens, like you say, 10 days along the road, they turn out not to be what the expectation was? What then do you do as a realtor to
Well,
get them back to?
well, it's not even just about getting them back. Like, for example, let's say you consistently are setting showings with a buyer and they're consistently arriving 10, 15, 20 minutes late. Sounds plausible, right?
Mm-hmm. It happens.
Yeah, it happens. But what happens if it happens 3 times in 1 week?
Hmm.
So what happens is the first time you say, "Oh man, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. I'm sorry we had a showing that started at 6 o'clock. You know, all of the showings that we've got scheduled are kind of stacked. And so because I want you to have the best experience, I want to make sure we're maximizing our time together. Let's go ahead and get started, but I want to make sure next time, like, let's start on time, right? They show up again, second time they're late. Hey, is everything okay? The first time we talked, I thought I made it clear, we needed to start at 6 so you have the best experience. Did something happen? Because of course I understand, like, if you got caught up at work or there was an accident, by the third time, it's looking that client in the eye and saying, I'm not giving you the experience that you deserve. And I've communicated to you that we need to be on time for showings. That's not happening. So we have a decision we need to make today. You're either going to commit in writing, you're going to respond to my email or a text, like, yes, I will be there on time. And if that doesn't happen, we're no longer going to be in business together.
Great.
That's having alignment, right? That's having standards. If we consistently are 15 to 20 minutes late, sometimes that gets to 30 minutes, right? I mean, it's an example, but what are you going to tolerate?
Exactly.
See, somebody that's running a business with multiple buyers or multiple sellers they're servicing is happy to have standards because their time's worth way more than chasing the person who's 20 minutes late to the showing.
Yep.
So we can call ahead of time, we can confirm ahead of time. All these things can happen, but you can't make them drink the water. You can just give them salt. Okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much for clarifying that, because sometimes buyers come with the expectation that realtors are desperate, and I tell them no, that we can take anything that they give us, and I say no, we cannot do that. So,
right.
And I'm glad you are clarifying that.
Yeah.
That as realtors, we have to set standards of professionalism and expect our clients to adhere to that.
Yeah, I think when you think about your clients, here's the golden nugget. What are the commitments you expect? The commitments you expect. There's no contract you sign with them that says they're going to be on time for showings. But there's a commitment or standard you can expect, and you should. If you want the business that's worth owning, if you want to scale and have systems at a level that's impressive, you got to start with those systems. The here's what's next, the communicating what's expected, the professional that's going to lead them through one of the largest asset purchases of their life. All right. Post closing, just the only thing I want to say here is your goal, because you've been a world-class realtor, even in a stressful transaction, which happens, is to stay in touch. And the best way to stay in touch is through the smart plans within Command that include texting, emailing, calls to action like calling, and direct mail and client events. So you become the realtor of choice. So one of my favorite things to push out, and I teach my agents to think about, is, if anybody turns on the media right now, they're hearing about tariffs, they're hearing about the feds and interest rates. So quarterly or even monthly, couldn't you do a newsletter email out to your database of 200 people or 300 people that think of you, know you, and love you when they think of real estate, and say, here's the 3 things you need to know about rates? I mean, it's easier than ever today with ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and Grok to say, hey, here's what the Fed's saying. Here's what the market stats are doing locally in our area. Here's where mortgage rates are. Can you help me come up with 3 bullet points that I could use with sellers, 3 bullet points I could use with buyers that I can email out to my database? Even when fishermen can't go out to fish because of rough seas, they fix their nets. So this is an example, to your point, when they said realtors take anybody they can and all that stuff. If you become a fiduciary and lead your people, you're proactively adding value, and you're doing it consistently through messaging. Value consistently. I don't know why I have balloons. Value and consistently. Value and consistently. Those 2 things Zillow won't do. Zillow's consistent. They don't really add value. People only go on Zillow to see roughly what their home's worth without talking to someone, to see what their neighbor bought something for, or to see what a celebrity's house is. That's it. They're not on it to get renovation ideas or learn how to pull money as a line of credit or if now is a good time to list or buy. They're not. That's literally, people are not on Zillow for that. That's what they're looking to us for. So if you build a marketing ecosystem post closing that's all around how to, I went on a panel. I went on a panel in October. I was asked to sit on a panel through LinkedIn. It was a webinar. There was 625 people, and it was myself as the real estate professional. There was a mortgage. There was a lender. There was an attorney, and there was a financial advisor. And we all had 10 minutes to talk. It was a 65 or 70-minute webinar. So we had 10 minutes to talk, and then there was 20 minutes of Q&A. But at the very start of it, we all had a 60-second hook or tease. So the facilitator would say, and next up, we have John Reich with Keller Williams, and he's going to give a real estate perspective. John, give us a 60-second overview of what your 10 minutes will look like. I was the third person to talk. Here's what I said. My name's John Reich, and I've been with Keller Williams 10 years. I have the privilege of running two of the largest offices in Michigan across the two of the largest counties with 500 agents. Last year, our network did about 4,500 closings. We took about 2,500 listings. Credibility. I've been in the real estate business 10 years. Credibility, because I have a baby face. And the three things that I'm looking forward to talking about in my 10 minutes is the following. Number one, is now the best time to buy or sell? Well, really, it depends on your runway. You're buying at the top of the moment, not the top of the market, and I'll prove to you how. Number two, why interest rates at 6% really aren't that bad. And what we've actually found is that if you buy a property that you're going to be in at least 5 years, chances are pretty high you'll be able to refinance. So don't think about it in terms of the rate. Think about it as the payment and what you're able to afford within your lifestyle. And then number three, a lot of you are on this call with rates under 4%. How do you keep that rate but still tap the equity in it and add to your portfolio? I'll talk you how to do that. How do you think that my follow-up after that webinar was? 38 messages on my LinkedIn, 16 emails, and several ads on my social media. I just say that because post that interaction, and this is post-close follow-up, but I had to follow up with each of those people, didn't I? I knew what I wanted to present. I was clear on my expectations. Again, that's an example, guys. Here's what you're going to get from me. Here's what's next. Let's keep moving. I want to keep adding value. I hope I'm adding value. Okay, we're going to do this at the end. Okay, let's pause for a second, please. I would be so honored before we move into the Plan Your Future, which is my favorite class. I promise to add value. It's around your big why and goal setting, mindset. I'm going to go into the chat and answer any questions you have. If you could just please scan this QR code. And it's going to be, I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to walk you through this to make sure I do it right with you. This is going to help me. If you want me to teach more for KW, both in person and digitally, I need this. Okay, so it's my one ask. I'm begging you. You click on you should be going to kwueval.com. Okay, it should look like this. You put in your region. So whatever region you are, this is the East Coast. So I'm from Michigan, Northern Ohio. So I would check MINO. Then event type, you put in person or virtual. This is virtual. So you can select that. For course name, we select Ignite, get to the close. Ignite 19, get to the close. And then in number 4, so I'm gonna put this in the chat for you. Region. Virtual. Ignite 19, get to the close. You have to scroll all the way down on number 4 and select the very, very bottom of instructor name not in dropdown. And then you'll type in my name, which is now in the chat, Reusch. Wait a
You
minute.
are in the drop down, just so you know.
Wait a minute. When
You're
did
there,
that
John.
happen?
You're getting your 34 now.
What? This is a big moment, guys. I haven't been on the drop down in 18 months when I've been pursuing this. Oh my gosh, I am in the drop down. So you can select John Reich in the drop down. I was literally not in the drop down last week, so I'm so sorry. And then just please rank me. I tried to bring the energy digitally for you. I can't wait to get to the next class here. I'm going to move over for you here. We're going to go to slideshow, plan your future. I can't believe I'm in the drop down. That's awesome. Cool. What did we think of the first section? Was that worth your time so far?
Absolutely. I love how you identify obstacles that we don't even think of, especially as newer agents. So thank you so much for just talking about them straight up, straightforward. Thank you.
You are very welcome. It's absolutely my pleasure. I cannot wait to get into the next class here because I love this next one is like my favorite Ignite class. So thank you, Lisa. That's so lovely of you. Someone had said something right when we were getting into this. They asked a question. What do you do if the client stops answering your calls and messages and doesn't reply? So if you've signed a contract with them and you're under contract, there's two things I would do. One, I would still call them, and my voicemail would be something I would leave voice messages and then follow up in text and probably an email. And I would say, hey, Sally Sue, John Rice here with Keller Williams Lakeside. We were working together. I know we're under contract until X date. Um, I'm going to keep calling. I know you appreciate my professional persistence. Um, if we need to have a conversation about exiting our relationship, that's okay. But I care about you and I haven't heard from you. And I want to make sure that I can either learn from anything I could do better, and maybe secondly, keep following up because that's part of 5-star experience. And so that would be the vein of messaging I'd be doing over the phone, texting, and emailing. And always follow up in writing with everything you do. And then there was one other question. I was asked how's the market by a buyer and a seller. How would you answer that? John responded, even if you know how the market's doing in your area, counter by asking them where they think the market is and then fill in the gaps. Yep, that's a great answer. Here's how I would answer that to mom. So whether it's a buyer or a seller, the first thing I ask them is, well, why are you curious or why are you asking that? Great question. Why, before I answer and give you my opinion, because it's an opinion, or if I showed you stats, I'm just curious, why are you asking? And I want to know, is it because of what they saw on the news media that morning? Is it because they're thinking of listing? Is it because their uncle at Christmas said the market's going to crash? Like, I need to know, and I got to understand that they may not tell me the truth, right? But I need to start from somewhere, and I need to know why they're even asking that. All right. So I always ask, tell me more about like, why are you asking? Or what's the motivation for you asking? So I usually come up to something like, well, it totally depends on your runway, like how many years you're going to be in the market or how many years you've owned the home. Have you done the updates, different things of that nature? But I'd say this, it's the only asset that over the last 100 years has continued to appreciate on average of 4% a year. So before I get into, more nerdy stats, I always make a joke. Let me ask you, why are you asking? That's important. You want to get to the why. He's thinking of listing and worried about getting another home since the prices are up. Okay. So I would work through, what did you buy the home for currently? What could you get it for? And then that percent increase. So does he have a current home? Okay. So how long has he had? So this is kind of a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I'll give you this. So if I bought for 200 and it's worth 400, I just made $200,000. I just made $200,000 on that home. And if I bought for 200 and it's worth 400 and I made 200, I if I put 20% down, I only put 40 grand down. So I put $40,000 down and I have a $200,000 gain. So if he waits, and so then in the same period, the house he's now looking at, what was that house worth back when you bought your house? And if that's gone up, what does he think the next 5 years are going to look like? Because of course you wouldn't be buying your next property for 1 year. So let's average this out over the next 5 or 7 or 10 years. So is it best for you to sell today, take proceeds, roll it into the next, and get the appreciation over the next 5 to 7, 10 years? What's your runway? Or do you want to wait and now that 600 becomes 800 becomes $1 million? And just use 4% as a classic appreciation to see what that would look like. I hope that helps, but you got to get into their needs, their whys, what they're looking for. But if it's just from a pricing standpoint, that's how I'd be looking at it. Let's roll into plan your future. We've got the TCPA. We've got the fair housing. We've got the copyright materials. We went over that. We still are a company an hour later that participates in that. Plan your future. Lead gen, lead follow-up, transact, rinse and repeat. I talk to so many agents that want to get into this industry to help people with their most important transaction in their life. I love that. But you have to have people to talk to transact with. So when people say, I don't want a lead gen, what they're really saying is, I don't know what to say, and I feel telemarkety, and I've been cold called and telemarketed before, and I don't want people that love and respect me or know me to think the way I think about when I've been cold called. The truth of the matter is that the fortune in lead generation for real estate is in the follow-up. So what you're really saying is, I'm not committed to becoming a master of my craft, becoming better than the person to my left or right to help my friends and family desperately who need the guidance on a large asset or transaction in their life. So I'm just not going to call them. So this comes back to your big why and why you're here in real estate. What is your purpose? See, my goal in getting into real estate, to go back to my story, it wasn't to sell a bunch of homes. Remember, if you saw my intro, it was this. I was looking at a condo. I was disappointed in what my realtor did. They were with another company, not KW. I felt like I did most of his job. I also wasn't making the kind of income in higher education with my master's that I thought I would. I wanted to build a family. I wanted to grow my income, grow my opportunity. So I decided to get into real estate. But my goal was to make an impact. See, I got into education. I wanted to make an impact. Yeah, I saw Steve Harvey, if you know who that is. He has done a lot of different things. But in between tapings of Family Feud, he records inspirational talks. He gives a talk. It's on YouTube. You can find it. It's called Jump. It's about 7-8 minutes. And he talks about how the greatest people on this earth, the best people, are risk takers, and they jump because they demand greatness. And so I jumped because I wanted to create and impact people's lives. And I felt like in higher ed, it turned into me talking about grants and funding per student and minimum quotients in classrooms. It wasn't about student success anymore. It wasn't for what I got into it. I'm not bashing higher education as an industry. I think there's an incredible amount of people, but for me, I wasn't fulfilled. So I jumped and I wrote out a future letter to myself. I planned my future. And in that letter, it said a lot of things. But one of the things it said was to create 100 millionaires by the time I die. 27 years old, I wrote that. I'm 35. I've created 8 so far that I can track. I have a whole metric on it and I track it. And I do it through coaching, training, consulting. I have a forward focused coaching company, getforwardfocused.com. Getforwardfocused.com. I'll throw it in the chat. Tons of free resources for all of you. Tons of free resources for you under the free resources page. My goal is to make an impact. That's why I'm in real estate. Yes, I own commercial buildings. Yes, I own rentals. Yes, I own market centers. But I do that to make an impact on people. I'm here with you on 7:30 on a Wednesday night after working since 7:30 a.m. And many of you have as well, by the way. I commend you for being dual career and committing to growth. But I've heard my daughter downstairs 3 times so far, 2.5, saying, "Where's daddy?" So what I want to get into you today over the next 35 minutes or so is motivation and focus, because the difference between succeeding at scale and having massive success in a vision board is discipline and focus. That's the golden nugget, discipline and focus. If you got into this for the freedom, flexibility, and financial independence, do not embrace freedom and flexibility for the first 3 years. Treat it like a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 8. Treat it like a real job. Go into the office when you don't have any appointments. Prospect when you don't need to. Network like you wouldn't believe. Do that for 3 years. You'll have more business coming your way than you ever know what to do with. I'm telling you, I'm literally walking proof of that opportunity map. 10 years ago, I was making $41,000 a year for my family. Today, I've made that in a month. I say that humbly. I promise you, I'm not here to, I'm sharing it to inspire. I am humbled to be on this call with you today. The fact that you're giving me 2 hours of your time, I want to give every minute I can, every ounce of energy to inspire, motivate, and help you focus on what you need to do, because willpower is not on will call. For you to live a massive life and plan your future, you need to have your sights on a big future, be smart about your money, commit to what you need to do in your life to have success, make a plan to learn, which you're all doing right now. You're here. Actually design your future and then go have accountability around it. So we're going to get into it. How you think matters, and how you think in the beginning really matters. Gary Keller, Millionaire Real Estate book. If you haven't read the MREA book, or if you haven't checked out the MREA podcast, please add, there you go, Lisa. I love that. Please add that to your world. And if you aren't a big reader, I didn't ask what you liked. I asked, would you commit to something that will change your life? If you're not a big reader, though, just focus on the intro, the first 40 pages, 30 pages of the MREA, and focus on the first 20 to 30 or 40 pages of the MREA, and then focus on the 4 fundamental models for you to plan out your life. I'm going to give you a couple key pages for you, though. And these aren't in any particular order, just pages I would look at. 281, 281, 163, 156, and 157. 151, almost done. 141, and 96. Start with those pages. Start with those pages, and you'll see what I mean around models and systems within, leading a massive life. There's figures on theirs and checklists and different things to start. So I wanted to just give you that. I mean, we've quoted the MREA a few times. I wanted to give you that. So let's get into mindset. Thank you, Molly. That's very nice of you to do that. Those are the pages that I highly recommend. What's your mindset? Are you aligned with your heart and ready to take action? Let's get into it. The Keller Williams belief system. I have had recruits sign up and agents take listings because of this belief system right here. Sellers and buyers look at you as realtors as a commodity. So I want you to think about gas for a second. If you get gas for your car, okay? What's the number one thing that you look for when you're getting gas?
Price.
Yep, that's a commodity, right? Price. And even if you're like, I've got the cleanest gas and additives and it's super powered, but it's $5 more a gallon, you're probably, I'm still going to be driven by price. That's why Costco and Sam's Club and BJ's Wholesale, that's why they have massive gas stations that are a huge part of their bottom line. Until the consumer sees you as a fiduciary, they view you as the realtor as a commodity like gas. One of the ways in which, there's several ways you're not that. I don't think that, but the consumer does. And the lawsuit from NAR in the last couple of years proves that. Okay. But the belief system, the Y4C2Ts, is one way to differentiate that. I have had agents sit across from a seller and say, you want to know how I'm different than the agent down the road? I could sit here and talk to you about a marketing plan and how my listings taken to sold. I can talk to you about the number of buyers and broker opens and open houses I'll do, and I'll do all that. But this right here is how I'm different. I believe in win-win or no deal. And here's what that looks like to me. If at any point we feel out of alignment, if I didn't do what I said I was going to do in terms of delivering for you, or if I feel that you're not getting the service from me that I can give, like that you're looking for and that I can give, or if you feel disappointed, that's a no deal for me. We'll end it right there. We're not the client alignment that I thought we might be. Integrity. I'm going to do the right thing even when no one's looking. I would never risk my reputation or career over one transaction or commission. And my commitment to you is to lead you through this process because customers come first. I wouldn't be here without you. You're everything to me in this transaction and beyond because I'm committed. I'm committed to the industry. I'm committed to how wealth is tied into the real estate industry. And I'm committed to what real estate ownership can do for our country. I'm committed to help you find or buy or sell your next piece of property. That doesn't happen without great communication. You're going to hear me say a lot of things like, here's what happens next, or tell me more about that, or why is that important to you? Because I want to be clear on what you need versus want in this transaction. Once I do my fact finding, once I understand how to win with you, that's where the ideas can come in. That's where we can have incentives or get creative or maybe think outside the box. But I got to check the boxes before that because ideas happen before the results actually show up. We're a team. You and me as a client and professional relationship, me with the other agent, me with the lender, me with the appraisal, me with the home inspection, the title company. I have a team of people behind me. I'm going to be the quarterback. I'm going to call the next plays. I'm going to communicate with you because my goal is to move the ball down the field and punch it in for a touchdown. Trust is everything to me. You're going to hear things from me that you don't always want to hear, but you'll need to hear. And I want the same from you. Equity, of course, I believe in opportunities for all. I believe in fair housing. I believe in equal opportunity. I want every person that I come in contact to believe and have a piece of the American dream, to ultimately have success. That if you want to go fast, go alone, but you want to go far, go together. I've given that spiel. It is a spiel countless times, but I mean it and I live it. And I own when I make a mistake, right? So this belief system, I'm telling you, can change your life if you embrace it. It can help you take business. Your value proposition, reflecting who you really am, the value you bring. the benefits you bring to your clients? Are you confident that sharing your value prop makes it easier to express who you are? So one of the things that we say at Keller Williams, my local Keller Williams offices, is that we are the pinnacle choice for agents and their clients. For agents and clients who want to build wealth, be a part of a culture of collaboration and sharing and caring. That we are known as the professional first-class operation in Metro Detroit. That's our vision. Do we live up to that every day? No, we're human. But that's our vision. So the moment you walk into the one office, for example, you have our front desk. We're just in the process of renovating the office, actually. To the left now, there's a beautiful new paint schema and new furniture and a Keller Williams. And on the right, prayer board. Prayer board. I probably get about 150 people to 200 people that walk through that front door every day. There's a prayer board right in front. I'm not saying you got to have a prayer board, but what I'm saying is, do you realize how intentional I've been in having that prayer board there? Because that's the value I want to show to my clients. And unfortunately, that prayer board is always at least half full. So that's something I value. So I always try and give examples in these classes. That's part of my value prop to my agents and their clients. This is a place of faith. We'll respect your beliefs. We have a prayer board. Lives change. Goals change. Focuses change. Things shift. I just want you to think about, when's the last time you revisited your vision or your future or your goal? I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but if your goal was to make $100,000 in real estate, I'm going to challenge you to go back and visit your big why. You may need $100,000 to fund initiatives, goals, your life. Yeah, that's great. Your expense, I get that. But why are you here? I want you to do this. Close your eyes for me for just a second. I want you to picture the people that you love most in your life. Your closest 5 to 10 people. Siblings, spouse, children if you have them, parents if they're still with you. Your closest people. Keep your eyes closed and picture them. Roll through them, visualize them. Now I want you to think about 5 years from today. You've hit a milestone to book a dream vacation for these people that you're visualizing in your head. And you've decided that you're going to do an all expense trip for them, but you're going to do one better. You've rented a private room at your favorite restaurant with your favorite people and meal. The room's dimly lit. It's beautiful ambiance. The service is fantastic. Your favorite bottle of wine, a martini, your favorite soda product if you don't drink coffee or tea. Maybe it's a steak or a fish or a potato dish, but you know the restaurant I'm talking about. It's your favorite restaurant. And halfway through the meal, you stand up and you say, hey, everybody, you're in this room today because you supported me 5 years ago to get into real estate. You pushed me. You believed in me. I love you. Thank you for encouraging me to grow, encouraging me to flourish. And underneath your plate, each of you have an envelope with prepaid flights and tickets on an all expense trip of insert blank. See, 5 years ago when I started this, one of the reasons I did it is I had this guy challenging me on this like webinar thing to write a 5-year plan. And out of every closing, I took $250, $500, $700, and I set it aside for this night and this trip. Took me 5 years, took me 7 years, took me however long. But I'm proud to say that this trip's booked and we're going, baby. Open your eyes. You deserve that. Now, whether you believe you deserve that or not, that's on you. But I'm telling you, you deserve that. That's closer to your big why or big future, your vision, than I think a lot of us sometimes write down when we sign up. I'm not saying you have to go spend money on a steak dinner. I'm not saying you have to go on that. I'm giving you an example. The people are a big part of your big why that you pictured in that room, right? But how cool would that be to plan that bucket list trip, to have that meal, and your real estate commissions funded it, and you didn't have to think twice? And some of you, I want to finish with this exercise by saying some of you are on this call going, man, I don't even know how I'm going to pay the mortgage next month. And you're having me do an exercise 5 years from today about that. I hear you. I hear you. If we don't think big, if we don't visualize what we can do, you will never get it. So I challenge you, as a part of your future, as part of your big life, as a part of your vision, I challenge you to think about what your life could look like if that became a reality. Because as Gary Keller says, one thing all achievers have in common is they're working for a big why. That big why is about having a purpose, a mission, or a need that in turn gives you the focus. And I'll add to that, the focus you need to do the things you don't want to do so you can have the things that you desire or love to have. If you want extraordinary results, you need to tie that into why you get up every day and do the things most people won't do. So many people come to me and say, oh my gosh, how lucky you are. You're 35 years old. You own all these businesses. You're married. You have a beautiful daughter. You know what? I am lucky. I am lucky. But at 25 years old, I left an industry I worked 8 years to get into and got a degree in and was academically published. And I thought I was going to be a dean. I left that and started over in real estate. 10 years later, I'm sitting in front of you. I just share that as an example. You could be the same person. You could do the same exact thing. But on New Year's Eve, I was 6 appointments and 6 hires as a team leader short of my goal. I was prospecting and I hit my goal on New Year's Eve in 2017. And some of you are going to say, well, that's ridiculous. I wouldn't do that. That's fine. There's no judgment. But I want a big and extraordinary life. And I wanted to hit my goal because our office had never had a black belt team leader before, which means you have 120 hires and you net 60, meaning you grow by 60 agents and then the profit comes with that. We had never done that in 23 years of existence. I wanted to be the first. These are just examples, just examples. My goal, though, isn't in hiring agents or recruiting people or steak dinners or trips. It's creating 100 millionaires who can have empathy, critical thinking, and leadership to go influence the world. Because you can't tell me that if I help create 100 millionaires and I hold them accountable and they're in my circle, if you can't tell, I'm a pretty passionate guy. My goal is to create millionaires that want to give lovingly, that want to impact other people, that want to coach people to the next level so they have a big life.
So happy to have that chance to show people, even though I'm not.
So there's 6 competencies that I want you thinking about, and you may want to screenshot this. There's 6 things that you need to focus on in your business to live a massive life. You need to lead generate and capture those, capture those leads to make appointments. You need to master, not just do it. You need to master presenting to buyers and sellers to get an agreement. I remember Gary Keller told me a story years ago in a mastermind I was in. He was interviewing a performer. It was an artist. And he said, when you're on stage performing, it doesn't look like you're performing. It doesn't look like work to you. And he goes, oh yeah. He's like, when I'm in front of a crowd, that's just performance. That's fun. The work is in the practice. And Gary's going back and forth and interviewing him. Finally, he goes, so it sounds like you don't practice till you get it right. You practice until you can't get it wrong. That's what number 2 is about. Mastering presenting to buyers and sellers. Do you know how hard it is to carry energy for 2 hours after a long day on Ignite And I, by no means am I saying I'm better than other instructors, but I try my damnedest, seriously, to deliver energy and focus and value to you for 2 hours after a 10-hour day, right? I've practiced that over and over and over again. Showing buyers and showing buyers and sellers the market. So showing buyers, marketing to sellers, rinse and repeat. Write and negotiate contracts, of course. Coordinate the sale to closing and manage the money. Throw in the chat which of these 6 you're going to focus on as a part of your core business in 2026. We all have goals. What's the goal within the goal? What's your focus going to be to elevate your life and business at the end of this year? Which one? Throw it in the chat for me. Is it lead generate and capture and convert? Presenting and mastering that presentation to buyers and sellers? Is it showing buyers and marketing to listings? Is it writing and negotiating contracts? Is it coordinating to closing or managing your money? You got to get real to get right. And I love when people say all of them, but the truth of the matter is they're not all equal. They're not all equally important at whatever stage you are in your business. You want to be great at all of them, but which one must you focus on next to get the goals you want? I want to take a moment and break down. I teach a class called Path of Money. It's one of my favorite classes. I have a private equity company I started a few years back, and I do investments. It's one of the things I add as a value add to my agents. And so part of the money is you have 70% of your commission goes to you. So when you're paying in a cap, 70% goes to you. 30% goes to your market center. A portion of it goes to your taxes. And then the rest of it is business expenses to run your business. So if I have a $10,000 commission, $3,000 if you're on a 70-30 split's going to your cap. There may be a transaction fee or the royalty to KW. On that 10,000, I should probably take 2,500 and set aside for future taxes. May have about 500 to 1,000 in expenses. So the rule of thumb is every 10 grand I'm making in commission, I actually got about 4,500 to 5 to spend. That's on the high end. So really thinking about as your commission dollars flow in, immediately moving money over to the tax account, which by the way, you can always pull from later for business expenses, or if your accountant says, hey, you've done too much in taxes, etc. But you have a 70-30 and the 6%. That's exactly right. When you cap on that, I always coach people, when you cap on that, still take that 30% difference and throw it into taxes or business expenses, like still operate on 70%. Do that for a couple years. You'd be amazed at how much your money grows. So this breaks this down for you, right? You have a $9,000 commission. After the 70-30 split, 5,760 goes to Jessica. She takes 1,728 into her business account and 4,000 to her personal. This is her business expenses. She's taking commission and putting it into her business account for expenses. She got 4 grand. She immediately then takes a cut for taxes. So her wallet's got 2,400, 2,500 bucks. That's what she can actually go spend. So do you see? I said 10 grand and you might get 5. This was 9 grand, you get 4. Then you have your taxes and you net the 2. So screenshot this because I think it's a good visual for you. Over on this side, she has no plan for her business savings or business income, and she has no plan for taxes. This isn't a sound business. If I was coaching this person, the first thing I would talk about is let's set up a profit and loss and a budget that we can stick to. Money is good for the good it can do. I want you to picture a brick. If I take a brick and throw it through a window, is that bad or good? If I then take that brick, pick it up, and I lay it as the cornerstone for a new school, is that brick good or bad? The brick's not good or bad. It's an object. What I choose to do with the brick is good or bad. Your money's the same way. Money's not the root of all evil. It's what people decide to do with money. It's their decisions around money that can be good or evil. It's okay to want a massive life. It's okay to want to make great money. What you choose to do with it is the key. And the thing about it is, unfortunately, folks, we've been framed as children, our view of money. We've been imprinted. Whether it's scarcity or abundance, whether it's money's the root of all evil or not, at a very young age, that was imprinted on you by your parents or by your ecosystem. So you need to consciously try and break those cycles. We all have them. We all have them. But money's not good or bad. It's just what you do with it. So how money flows is you got money come in, you pay expenses, and what's left over is profit. That's how most of the world works. But at Keller Williams, when we teach Path of Money and we teach people to think about leading with revenue, when we talk about the right side of this is red light, green light we go and spend money, red light we stop. Start with what your goal is. Ask, are my expenses right sized to support that goal? And then how many homes do I need to sell? How much income do I need to hit that? It's a reversed way of thinking about it. This is called Profit First. There's a great book called Profit First. Highly recommend you check it out. It's got a white cover. Do I have it up here? I don't. Another good book, though, Tax-Free Wealth. And then one last book, The Banker's Code, 3rd edition. Oh, there it is. The Banker's Code, 3rd edition. All right. The difference between cost of sale and operating expenses. Here's the simple rub. You only have a cost of sale when you sell something. That's it. Expenses happen no matter if you have a sale or not. So examples of cost of sale on a P&L or on a budget are commissions, royalties, splits, referral fees, transaction fees. And on the operating expenses, that's your rent that you pay, your auto, your gas, any salaries, insurance, or marketing, your MLS fee. So getting super clear on what is my minimum monthly burn? And as I scale my business, how much do I pay? And when agents start at a company that's not KW, another franchise that takes fees forever, their cost of sale gets out of whack. When I talk to big agents at other competitors, great companies, their cost of sale is out of whack. I've talked to agents who are paying $200,000 a year to be at a company. Cost of sale is you only pay it when you sell. Expenses are you pay it no matter what. Take a picture of this. This applies to both your business and personal goals, by the way. If you know what you want to do with your future and you have a big why, if you've set a goal, golden nugget, if you've set a budget personally and professionally, a budget actually gives you freedom. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but a budget gives you freedom. Opening up bank accounts for your taxes, expenses, or other savings. I mean, I probably have 40 bank accounts at this point. And so I'm sharing that with you because I have it set up because I want to make sure I have a purpose for every dollar. I actually have a written charity plan. People know to hit me up sooner in the year than later because when I hit my charity goal for the year, I stop giving. And I used to have a feeling about that. Like, why did I stop giving? But my charity plan, my written plan is bigger than a lot of people's because I was role modeled that I need to tithe. I need to give back to those less fortunate or those that need access or those that need help, right? This is a best practice in terms of getting your money right and having a goal around your money. Think and act the wage you want before you earn it. Average is as average does. Good is as good does. And great is as great does. What you do is who you become. I'd like you to text. We're going to take 2 minutes to do this. It's okay to schedule this text if you feel it's too late in the evening, but inspect that limiting belief. I'd like you to text 3 people and simply say to them, I thought of you when I did an exercise in a class tonight. You are a part of the reason I'm in real estate. You motivate me to do my best. If I can ever be of assistance or help sell, buy, or invest, I'd be honored to be thought of. I'll say it again. 3 people, you can text them or schedule to text as soon as this class ends. I want you to, 3 people, please do this. I promise you, it's just outside of your comfort zone. Schedule text or send the text and say, I'm reaching out because I thought of you during my real estate class I was in tonight. You are one of the people I envisioned. You're one of the reasons I'm in real estate. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being in my world. And I would love to be of assistance to you or help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate should the need arise, or you think of someone else who could, right? I'm giving you different variations of the script. But you're part of my big why. I'm reaching out. I'd be honored. Keep moving. But I'm asking you to please do that. We're almost done. I know that people have limiting beliefs about that, by the way. So that's why I said what I said around inspect that limiting belief. We all have it. We're too old. We're too young. We're not smart enough. We're too fat. We're too skinny. We all have them. Your true big future, your big why, your purpose, get out of that comfort zone. Leaving higher education and getting into real estate was the scariest thing I did. Worked out pretty good. My mom told me it was the biggest mistake I made. She now has said, I was wrong. I'm proud of you. I love you. The importance of accountability. It keeps your mindset focused. I told you, success comes from focus on the right things. It reminds you of your big why. It challenges you and makes you uncomfortable at times. And it's one of the 6 personal perspectives. One of my favorite classes, I just taught it a couple weeks ago, 6 personal perspectives. Be accountable is one of them. There's different types of accountability. So think back to your market center, maybe someone on this call, someone at your office, someone in your personal life. Who can be an accountability person that you can share your personal and professional goals with? Maybe you role play with them. Maybe you don't, but there's just somebody you're accountable to. Your productivity coach. So we talked earlier about market center administrators, MCA, MCTT. Hey, John, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate that. The MREA chart of accounts. Maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's a MAPS coach. But there's also tools, 411, time blocking, your one thing. These are, I want to challenge you on accountability. There's 5 things that I think about when it comes to accountability. These are 2 of them. People and tools or systems. Quotes or affirmations. Quotes or affirmations is another one that I think about. The 4th one that I always think about is what book, whether it's Audible or a book I want to read. You know, when you can have 20 years, 30 years, 100 years of experience in 20 chapters, why would I not? And then lastly, what podcast? Big into podcasting. So podcast, book, system or tool, person, quote. What ahas do we have? What ahas do we have? We get 3 shares.
Your big why powers your big belief, knowing what your why is and why you get up every day. What are you doing it for?
That's right. Great job, Loretta. Yeah, my big Y has a name and she's 29 months old now.
My big why is she's 35 and I still do the same things for her as if she was 29 months old. So that's still my big why, helping my daughter and generating generational wealth.
Right. That's your big Y. I even joke, like my daughter, she's the sweetest, but she's really not my big Y. Creating 100 millionaires. I want her to be one of them, though. Have a purpose for every dollar. John, I lost connection when you were asking us to text 3 people. All right. Well, Dennis, please do that. The script on that was I attended my real estate class tonight, and our instructor asked us to think of people of why we're in real estate. It was tied to our big why, our purpose of being in real estate. And I thought of you when we did that exercise. And so I just want to remind you that 1, I'm grateful for you. And 2, I'd be honored to either service you or someone you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Appreciate you. Have a great night. Or if you schedule it, it could be a text tomorrow morning. Take the aha moment. Don't be scared to take the leap of faith. Budget gives you freedom. Your big why. Trying to get into real estate at 57 after a career in the Army and logistics, I was afraid to learn something new. Inspect that limiting belief. I'm going to be repeating that to one of my students. Love that. And then some of the books that I recommended. Take a picture of this, please. If you stick with me 5 more minutes, we'll be done by 8:05. 8:06. It just turned to 8:01. I promise you'll be done at 8:06. Mindset and accountability, and then sales skills. I want you to understand this slide. I'm going to give you 3 things. The right side of this screen is what to do and how to do it. The right side of the screen, the sales skills, is what to do and how to do it. Very important. The left side of this screen, mindset and accountability, these right here specifically, I guess the rest of these are what and how as well, right? How to hire, right? But this top left is not just what and how, it's how to overcome fear. And we have 2 types of fear we all live, rational and irrational fear. And then there's 2 other things around fear. Not only do you have rational, irrational, but then you have the fear of becoming who you have to become. You want a 6-pack, you need to eat and train differently than someone who doesn't. Or the fear of the discipline, or the fear of missing out on your potential. So, command, smart finances, hiring, sales skills, diversity, equity, inclusion. That's what to do and how to do it. Very important. But sometimes we miss the fear piece of how to overcome fear that's rational or irrational. And that's about the discipline of who you need to become or the fear of your potential. I like to delineate that for you, that these classes are on how and what, as well as the fear. That's what makes Keller Williams different. Was this worth your time? How do you know? Was it worth your time, and how do you know?
Well, I want to just say to you, John, you did an amazing job with your presentation and getting the information to us to make it where we could actually take what you said and apply it to our businesses. And you just did a great job. And thank you so much for being here tonight.
Oh, well, thank you, Loretta. That is so sweet of you to say. I appreciate that. My name is Jonathan Reich. I'm not asking for another review. If you want to give me another review and do the Ignite, plan your future, go for it. But I'm not asking that. I'll just say that my name's Jonathan Reich. If you want to add me on Facebook and message saying that you're on my Ignite today, I will add you. I have free resources at Get Forward Focused. I'm going to put that in the chat right now.
John, I have a question. I have a client who is moving to Michigan. I don't know what area you're in, but I know the properties she's looking at. Could you give me your information for your brokerage? Because I had looked for someone and I ended up actually finding someone else on Facebook that was not Keller Williams because I tried looking up Keller Williams offices and could not get a person. So would you mind sharing your information or your brokerage information so I could reach someone?
Yeah, and there's even people on this call that might jump on that that are with a lovely firm. But I'm with Keller Williams Lakeside, which is in Shelby Township. It's in the Metro Detroit area in Macomb. And then I'm also with Keller Williams Domain. I'm the operating partner of Domain, which is in Birmingham and Bloomfield. So Keller Williams Lakeside, Lakeeside, and Domain, Domain. My email is in the chat. It's john.reich@kw.com, JON period REU SCH at kw.com. And like I said, there's a few agents that are with me at Lakeside, and there's one from Domain. So depending on where the lead might be, they may be a great fit for you too.
Yeah, I have the addresses of the properties that she's looking at, but I have to sell her home first, so it'll be a minute because it's a luxury property. But after I do that, then they're moving that way.
Yeah, be on for you to consider Lakeside or Domain, and I would definitely put you in touch with the right agent. I promise that. If anyone else has any referrals or leads on that, obviously the chat can be a great time to do that. But thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other takeaways or ahas before we wrap?
John, this
Great
whole
class.
night has been phenomenal, and the information, as always, has been outstanding. But I think my biggest takeaway is the maybe 4 minutes of your spiel of why you do real estate, which is not in any book. I'm ready to come out and join your team. I'm from Colorado. Like, I loved just your passion and vulnerability and authenticity. And while the information is phenomenal, to me, that's a difference maker.
Well, thank you. That means a lot, Dan. I appreciate that. And yeah, my email's in the chat. And if there's anything I can do, like I said, my goal is to impact people and make a difference in people's lives. And I ran a coaching company since 2018, and I have a great team of people, and I'm just blessed. So thank you for the compliments. I really appreciate it. I live a blessed life, and I work hard for it, and I want to give back. So thank you. What I'm going to do is, someone was asking about the copy of the slides. Are they still on? Because I have them right here. I want to make sure I add that to the chat, and then I can end this. So give me just 1 second.
Great job. Thanks for a great class. It was really awesome. Best one.
Awesome. That means the world to me. So thank you. That's awesome. Here is the first session in the chat right now. Boom. You can download that. And the second one, plan your future. Here we go. I promised I'd have these in the slides. I'm a man of my word. Any other questions, thoughts, or ahas before we wrap?
I just appreciate you asking us to challenge our thought processes so that we think bigger. Because there is no ceiling in our industry, and that's part of the beauty of our industry. And I just really appreciated how you illustrated that and got us to think in that way this evening. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Means the world. That means more to me than anything. And the fact that I hope I got my 34 reviews means a lot too. So, because I want to do this across the country. So thank you. All right, all. It's 8:08. My wife's texting me when I'm coming down to help. I'm going to get down and help. I appreciate each of you. Have a wonderful evening, and go get them. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.